Hello and welcome to Women Engage Program Season 5. I'm your host, Rose Misati. In this program, we bring women from all walks of life, of different ages, to talk about real issues affecting real women living in the contemporary world. Today, I have two ladies with me. We are on the second part of managing your mental health as a contemporary woman. And by the way, we have our previous episodes. This is Season 5. In case you're watching us for the first time, go back and watch our previous episodes. So I will ask the beautiful ladies with me today to introduce themselves. In case you're watching us for the first time, they were with us in the first episode. We are now on the second episode. Yes.
My name is Bisase Mora. I am a medical practitioner and a lifestyle coach into preventive medicine. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Hello, my name is Annabelle Duta. I am a mental wellness advocate, previously diagnosed with ADHD. Yes, and still have it, not like it has gone anywhere.
Oh, great. In case you didn't watch our previous episodes, we talked about, on mental health, we talked about what mental health is. Annabelle gave us part of her story, and we talked about what you can do as a woman, and even what you can do in case you have a loved one who is living with a mental illness.
Yes.
Today, I want us to go deeper, and I would like to ask Annabelle to share with us her story.
Okay.
Where does your story begin?
Well, my story began when I was a child. I was a very playful child,
Yeah,
ever energetic, a very quick learner.
yeah.
Started walking, I think, okay, from now, my mom's story, from around 7 months,
Yeah.
eight months,
Yeah.
I was walking.
Yeah. 8 months.
Yes, I was already...
How many children are you in your family?
We are 3 of us.
What birth position?
I'm the second.
Middle child.
Yes, I'm the
You know there's
child.
middle child syndrome?
Yes.
I'm a middle child.
Yes. So everything for me, like reading and writing, I started reading and writing before I even went to school, because my elder brother was in school. So I'd go and look into his books and read storybooks. I loved reading storybooks because they were fascinating to me. And I loved living in that world that is not in this world.
Did you read Cinderella?
A lot.
Sleeping Beauty?
All of them. I think I've
Snow
read
White?
Snow White.
Aladdin's Lamp.
Aladdin.
Very familiar book.
Very familiar books.
Yes, so I loved to read when I was a child. So when I went to school, I noticed I'll feel a bit left out, because when other children would play, they will get tired and they want to go and take a break. But I don't want to take a break.
Do you want to?
I did not like afternoon naps, because to me that was a waste of my time. I'll just be there turning, tossing, turning. I probably sleep for like 10 minutes. Then all of a sudden we're being woken up, meaning all that time I've just been staring into the roof and probably poking the person who's next to me. And I have an oddly very good memory of my childhood. Since like when I was 2 years, there are things I remember, and my mother was like,
You remember that
you
one?
remember that?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So when I got now into normal school, the normal school routine, I noticed I was getting really bored in class. I did not like the sitting for long hours. I'll get out of class every 15 minutes. I think the teachers thought I had a problem with my bladder, but I'll actually just go and wash my hands and my face, Just keep washing my hands and my face all the time.
Were you beaten for that?
No, I think they just thought I was sick, maybe. I don't know.
She was in a good school, I think.
Yes.
Yes,
Other
I think I was in a
schools will
good
actually
school.
be beaten up.
Yes, I was in a private school.
Group of schools.
Yes,
Group
I was in a
of
group
schools.
of schools. So I was lucky in that way that I was, so they'll just allow me to go to the toilet and come back, because they noticed if they don't let me, I'll be so fidgety. Like I'm moving around. I even start making noise. I was always being told to keep quiet. Then I also learned that I was speaking so fast. So fast they could not hear what I was saying. So all the time I was being told, slow down. This is something I have learned over time, to slow down my speech.
Otherwise you would be going
Otherwise I'll be
many words per minute.
So when we got towards the end of the primary school education. The last 2 years, it's preparation for the national examination.
Yes, yes.
In class, now that is class 7 and class 8. For those who don't know, in Kenya, there's class 7 and class 8. So in class 7, I was taken to boarding school. The same school, but now in the
boarding section. Yeah.
I did not cope well. Because first there's the preps, long hours of studying. I was always asleep. Then at the long hours of school and always studying and preparations and everything, that was so boring to me because it was a lot of repetition that I did not like. So my performance was good. I was always being told I have a lot of potential because when I'll do actually the past papers and the revision, I was passing, like I was getting 400
Straight
and
A's.
above, But when it comes to exams, something happens and I'm among the last people, So I remember when we got, in class 7, I got sick like so many times. I got ulcers, I got malaria that was not malaria, like I said before.
That's when you were about 12 years?
Yes, 12 years. And then that's when I was diagnosed by the doctor that I had depression because they went to check for malaria and typhoid and there was nothing in my system, but I was sick. Like they could say I'm sick, but there was no, like when they drew the blood, there's nothing. They check the stomach, there's nothing. They've been treating me. Every 2 weeks I'm in hospital, nothing is happening. So eventually that's when the doctor told my mom, I think your daughter is depressed. So I was withdrawn from boarding school for one term. For one term. So actually now I remember that one term, I'm sure my parents were really tired because they'll drive me to school and back home. Drive me to school and back home.
And you had to be in school early in the morning?
Yes.
For the morning prep?
For the morning prep. And that was stressful to them, but they had to really, the doctor told them to really check on first my diet because of the ulcers. Secondly, because they needed to see what's wrong. So eventually when I got into class 8, they said they can no longer drive me. Like it's costly to begin with. It's also tiring for me. Because if they drive me to school and back home, I get home like at 6 p.m., I'm too tired to even do my homework. Then the next day I have now a whole explanation to the teacher, like why didn't I do the homework?
And this is when you were class 8?
No, this is class 7 third term.
Class 7 third term?
Now, when I got to class 8, now I went back to boarding. I agreed now to go back to boarding.
Yeah.
But I had to be put on a lot of special diets. My mom had to come to school every 2 weeks to talk to me, to help me like process how the school scenario is. So my performance was up and down, up and down. So I remember before the final exam, like 2 exams before, the way the parents come to assess how the students are doing. I remember my mom and I, we drew a graph. And so we said, since this has been the trend, you pass this exam, you fail this one. You pass this exam, you fail this one. So make sure at that time I was at the top. She was like, make sure you fail.
So that
so that at the final you pass. Because this one you don't have a choice. I actually failed. That was actually what happened.
The national exam you passed?
I passed.
Then how was high school like for you?
So after passing, high school was now even worse. Again, the preps. Preps for me are stressful because I have to sit down for long hours and push myself to study. That is something that does not come naturally to me. For me, once I read something once, it sticks. I don't have to keep repeating it. So I don't understand why people are always repeating the same things. So high school was hard also because I could not see my mom, could not talk to my mother often. And it was also hard because I was not performing well. The subjects were so many. There was too much to be done, and some of them I have no interest. Absolutely no interest, but I have to fake the interest for me to pass. So in high school, I did not perform well.
That is in your final exam in high school?
But final, I performed fairly well, but not as well as I could have.
Did you then proceed to college afterwards?
Yes, I did. I went I went and did 4 years in college in communications. I did mass communication. And then right afterwards, not even 1 year later, I didn't even wait for 1 year to end, I enrolled for my master's. And mostly, I thought I really wanted to do my master's, but okay, I enjoyed doing the master's, but the reason I was doing it was to prove that that potential that everyone saw
talking about
is still there.
triggering word.
Yes, that triggering word, that I'm actually smart. Because I felt like everyone was looking at me like, you're not that smart. Because maybe I did not perform as well as they thought I would in my KCSE.
There was this fluctuation.
Yes, there was this fluctuation.
So you did the undergraduate, you've done the master's, you completed?
Yes, I've completed.
Fantastic.
In 2 years. Like I completed it in 2 years. And then now I started working. So with work, I found myself getting bored.
At work? Because you would learn very fast and
get bored. Then, you know, work is a
repetition.
Bit monotonous. That is too much.
Which kind of institution were you working at the time? What was the setup?
I've worked in different institutions.
How many jobs have you had? Let's say, how many positions or jobs have you had?
I've had maybe around 6.
And
that was a span of 3 years.
And I think that is significant even for our viewer watching us today, because you can see the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, the way your brain races so fast, people changing jobs so fast. 3 years, she has been in 6
different jobs
or different positions. I think
the other thing that also came up in the story of how emotionally something manifests itself physically. She was having now ulcers. And many a times...
Headaches.
Ulcers that people will be treated for. There is going to the chemist over the counter to get medication. In those who are able, they are visiting the hospital every month on anti-ulcers. And it doesn't go away. Continuous medication.
And the drugs have side effects as well.
Definitely. And then the headaches that are there. Today there's a headache, tomorrow there's no headache. Or a dull, boring ache that never disappears, constantly there. And then there's something called hapa. Today it's my shoulder that has paining. Tomorrow it's my leg, it's my back, it's my thighs, the eyes. Everything is aching at any other day.
Are those the psychosomatic?
They are psychosomatic disorders. Which have manifested from what is going on within our heart.
So they show whatever is going on in the mind, they show in the body.
In the body.
And you know, you have reminded me, in the book Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, Ellen White says that, I forget the page, but she says that sickness of the mind pervades everywhere.
True.
And she actually says 9 out of 10.
90%.
90%. And it scares me. You know, many times I'm like, really? It's true. 90% of the illnesses in the body, they begin from the mind.
You're very right.
Did you know that even accidents, many of them, they begin from the mind?
From the mind, exactly.
So in case somebody is saying, oh no, this was just an accident. No. It wasn't just an accident.
There was something going on in the mind.
So I think that's an important correlation, that we can experience something in the body that has begun from the mind, like in her case. And then also I would like something else that you've said, the way your performance was going up and down. I deal a lot with families and young people, and I've seen how parents, when their child is fluctuating, the solution is to get more tutors and remedials and pamper. And a lot of children have been driven to actually self-harm and even suicide. Did you ever have an experience like that?
Yes. I remember I used to find myself really contemplating suicide a lot. And when I was 18, before I got the diagnosis, that is when I think everything blew up. Because once I got my KCSE results, the final exam, I realized I did not perform as well
expected.
As everyone expected. Because then everyone
which means here your parents?
Yes, my parents. Mostly it's my parents. And they wanted me to go and do law. And I actually enrolled to do law, and I was called, but under
privately sponsored.
Privately sponsored.
Not the government sponsored.
But I later went. I just dropped. I just told them I'm not going to do it. But you see, once you have that, what is it called?
So on the suicide part,
the suicide,
so how did that contribute to you?
That I got so anxious and so depressed that I eventually found myself into alcoholism. I found myself taking a lot of alcohol and some other drugs.
To cope now
cope
with what?
with
To
what I
actually
was
numb
doing.
The pain.
To numb the
pain.
pain of disappointment.
Yes.
And already I had a low self-esteem. So these things made me feel happy.
Yes.
Since I was always feeling sad. So I tried to make myself happy.
At the moment, at
false
least.
sense-
At the moment.
At the moment.
And I remember for like 6 months,
Yeah.
I could not sleep.
You couldn't sleep.
I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
So the only way I could sleep is if I drink alcohol and completely pass out.
Wow.
I-
Then when you wake up,
Then when I wake
the
up,
cycle begins.
The cycle begins because now you have the hangover.
Yeah.
And then I also learned that a little bit of alcohol would help me concentrate in class. So there was a short course I had done when I was 18, before now going to university.
Yeah.
So I found myself it's like I was not understanding anything, which is so unlike me. I got more frustrated. But the reason for this was because my ADHD now was on overdrive.
Because of the alcohol?
Because now of the alcohol. Now I'll
And
take
maybe even
alcohol.
poor feeding at that time.
I
Definitely.
don't think I used to eat much.
you
I don't think so.
And-
I used to take a lot of coffee.
Exactly.
Now coffee
Caffeine.
would trigger me like completely.
Make matters worse.
So I
And
tried
seeing
to
that,
commit suicide.
you at that time.
I contemplated on it, but a friend of mine came to my rescue, and their mom is the one who called my mother to tell her, your daughter is really depressed.
What did you use? What did you use for the suicide?
I actually wanted to jump in front of a bus because I was in the CBD.
In
I
the
was
central
town.
business
Yeah,
district
central
in the town.
Yeah, in Nairobi. So I watched a bus drive by and thought of how I'm going to jump. But my
You
legs
played
were
the
too
whole
weak.
scenario.
Yes, my legs were too weak. I just collapsed where I was and just started crying. For example, if there are times when, you see, like around June, when the weather gets dull, I get seasonal depression. My ADHD goes on overdrive. I get moody. Then they are wondering what's wrong with her. She was okay 1 minute, the next she's not okay. Then when I tell them I'm feeling low, and I have no reason of why I'm feeling low, they just judge that I have my own
Mood swings.
I'm in mood swings. And when it prolongs over a period of time, you find yourself pushing away the people around you. You push them away, and if they don't even take the time to understand what you're going through, they don't try and be there for you.
There. So have you had relationships that have actually ended and you can link them to when you are going through this mental health crisis?
Yes, I think almost all of them.
Almost all of them. So it has had an impact on your relationships.
Yes.
What about your child in terms of you
child.
parenting your child? How old is your child?
My child is 4 years.
4 years.
4 years old. She's a very bubbly girl and also hyperactive. But I think it has really helped me understand her. It has, by me parenting her, I was able to parent myself the way I was not parented.
Very important.
The way you were talking about childhood trauma. I am kinder to her. For me, I'll be told, maybe it's not like they were doing it, my parents were doing it in bad way.
Intentionally.
But the way you're told, we hakuna kitu unaweza fanya vizuri, like there's nothing you can do right.
Yeah.
Because you're told to bring a spoon, you bring a cup. You're told to do the dishes, you completely forgot. She comes and finds them and she thinks you're lazy, but you actually forgot. Or you started, you did 2 of them and completely forgot and left them there.
Yeah.
The thing we were talking about in the previous episode about dropping in functions,
Yes.
that you're not able to be consistent in an item to make sure you've completed. Yes. And so this also affects the child in a way, because eventually, I want to believe at that point you are getting confused in that state of a child. So when am I right?
Yeah. So I felt like I was never right.
You were never right.
I was never right.
So you accept yourself.
You accept that
myself.
situation. You feel rejected, actually.
You feel rejected.
Yeah. So now with my child, I'm able to be more gentle with her. I try to understand her hyperactivity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because I'm parenting myself, it's not like my hyperactivity has stopped. I find myself getting frustrated and easily angered.
Exactly.
By,
the
she's everywhere. She triggers me. But then when I'm triggered, I have to remember I am the parent.
Oh, wonderful.
I have I have to control my emotions.
Yes, yes.
Which
yes.
ADHD means you have emotional dysregulation.
Exactly.
So at times I find I have an outburst. When she's having an outburst, I'm also having my outburst.
You are two children, emotionally.
We are two children
and
in
you
one
know,
room.
that's so important. I want you to hold that thought.
Yes.
I will ask Bisasi as a lifestyle coach to talk about that part of childhood trauma and reparenting, because you've said you're parenting yourself.
Yes.
Before then, let me make a comment. From what she has said, all her relationships with the opposite gender, they have ended because of her mental health condition, especially during times of crisis. Yes. So now she's parenting alone, at least at this point.
Yes.
I just feel like somehow the cards are stacked against women, because I've come across so many men who are living with mental illness and they have their spouses taking care of them.
Yes.
Maybe because as women, we are socialized to nurture.
Yes.
But when it happens to a woman, normally the man receives advice, get another wife.
Yeah,
Honestly, I've
crazy.
seen that. Even in church setup, the man is advised, you have every reason. They even bring someone for
They
him.
suggest.
And they suggest, bring somebody and help him to marry. But for a woman, if your husband is living with a mental illness, this is very close to my heart. You're told, you know, take care. That is what you were created for. You know, you will have stars in heaven. You know what? I have no
on your
doubt.
crown.
Stars in your crown because of what you have done. I have no doubt. It's okay to take care of each other, but I always wonder, can we, in all fairness, so whether it's men or women, can we support each other? So please comment.
Childhood trauma cuts across. It's not only for the girl child, it's also for the boy child. Where does it start? It actually starts prenatally while in the womb.
Prenatal depression.
Prenatal depression that she spoke about.
Yeah.
So the child gets that sense of feeling that they are not wanted. And they interpret it as being a mistake in this world. And when they have come into the world, the father can be present, absent. Emotionally, is physically present, but emotionally is absent. So this is the father who's supposed to give the child sense of security and feel that they actually belong by the touches that they receive. And so that child grows up with a positive self-esteem. And the mother who's there caring, and anytime the child is crying for this, is patient enough to listen and to support in the work. Of course, they're being shepherded in the correct direction so that they don't receive everything that they are crying for. You're told this is what you need for now. It is good for you. That is love. And this is what you do not need. It is a want at this point in time. So the child learns to feel, okay, because this person loves me, I can trust them. So as you grow up, you learn to trust, you feel loved, you feel that you're belonging. Why? Because there is a role of both the parents in the scenario. Yeah. So this child who grows up with that absent, they are traumatized and they go into life not trusting anyone. They cannot trust anyone because they were not taught how to trust.
To trust the primary caregiver.
The primary person they knew
at
that time. And so even their relationship with God later becomes a difficult one. They look at God as someone who's a tyrant, a master who's ready to pick up a whip and beat up the person. So spiritual relationship poses a big challenge. As I said initially, it is not only for the girl child, even the boy child will be affected. More so for the boy because now they will not be able to make decisions later in life. You're asking someone a question, will you like color pink or color red?
They're indecisive.
Whatever. They cannot decide.
Like they have no opinion.
No opinion. It did not start at that point when they were teenagers. It all began long time.
They were disempowered. I hate that word.
Yes, they were disempowered. So they were not given room to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And someone realizes later, when I make a mistake, I have failed the community that you mentioned about. Yes. I have failed my parents. So what is the result? Someone runs away from reality.
From reality. And where do they run to?
They run into addictions.
Achievements.
Any form of addiction, including work.
Achievements.
Achievements, yes. Yeah. You get into workaholism and you think that is a very good performer at work, yet they are suffering
even
from
religion.
mental.
You can even run to religion.
You run into religion.
Balance.
Yes.
Wow. Besides,
it's heavy.
You know, we have come to the end of the show, unfortunately, today. And I want to ask you ladies to say a word. What would you like to is there hope to families, to individuals, to even children whose parents are living with mental illness? Is there hope? Annabelle, what would you like to say?
I'd like to tell you, the viewer, our dear viewer, that there is hope. Because if I found healing, I find myself loving myself again, loving my child. And also when I have those moments when I go off, because they do come, those moments come, and you find yourself behaving even worse than your child, I always find myself bringing myself back with love, without judgment.
Compassion.
With a lot of compassion.
Passion for yourself.
With a lot of graciousness towards myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I got to know what unconditional love is. Unconditional love lives within you. It's not out there.
Given by God.
It's it lives within you because God is in us.
Exactly.
And so
God
in a nutshell, let's just put it like this. You can heal. No matter how far you feel you've fallen off the wagon, you can heal your family, because it's all about parenting yourself. And the same way you give yourself love is the same way you'll be able to give those around you.
Fill your cup.
Yes.
Pour into the others.
Yes.
Fantastic. Bisase?
I can resonate with her. There is hope. We've heard about generational curses. We are able to actually stop this from continuing to our children and to our grandchildren and the great-grandchildren in our lineage. Once we come to terms and accept, and once we have reconnected, and more so reconnect with God, we are able to heal from inside and live a fulfilling life to actually achieve the purpose we were created to be in this world.
Thank you,
Heal
Bisase.
mentally.
Thank you. That's great. For mine, I've said this before, but I cannot get tired saying it. From Mind, Character and Personality from Ellen G. White, and I'm paraphrasing, she says, God will give us power to overcome inherited and cultivated tendencies in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I will repeat. The Lord will give us power to overcome inherited and cultivated tendencies in Jesus' name. It doesn't mean what you have inherited. The Lord will give you power to overcome. And say, it ends with me. Like the way she said, ADHD in the family, she can say, and she has said, it ends with me. So this is not going to continue. Dear viewer, thank you for being with us. May God bless you until we see you soon.